All right, everyone. Good afternoon. As Owen said, I am Udi Ledergor, and I'm the Chief Evangelist at Gong. Before we dive in, here's a look at what I want to cover in the next 15 minutes. First, I'll share observations from the thousands of conversations we have here at Gong with CROs and other revenue leaders just like you, and what is keeping you up at night. Then we'll look at some of the ways you can de-risk your pipeline. Next, I'll share findings from our latest Gong Labs research on personalizing prospecting emails. Make sure you stay tuned for that. And finally, that very hot topic of AI, the opportunities it offers in sales, but also the things you need to look out for. Let's jump right in. Let's start with what's keeping up CROs at night. After 2 years that we were all told to grow at all costs, which was fun while it lasted, most of us are being told to make more money, decrease spend, reduce time to results, and reduce risk while hitting our targets. You're probably doing a lot to deal with the first two demands. So today I want to focus on the last two, and specifically how to de-risk your pipeline by shortening the time to revenue and boosting engagement. How's this done? By actually understanding what's at risk and the right ways to act on it in order to increase organization effectiveness, not judging based on your gut instinct, but on data. It's knowing that people are doing the right things at the right time, helping your team close deals faster and do it more efficiently, because that's what your board wants right now. Pretty easy, right? Okay, let's get down to the gist of how we do this. I'd like to suggest a formula that boosts sales engagement and drives business results, effectively de-risking the revenue process. It starts with engaging the right people. Boost your engagement with buyers to book more meetings and generate more pipeline. You need the right contact database to do that. You need to make sure your team is talking to the right people. The next thing is making sure you're engaging with those people at the right time. Now, our data shows a pretty shocking figure that 32% of the time, your reps are not following up with inbound leads or last contacts within 24 hours. And Gong Labs data shows us that when your reps do follow up within the first 24 hours, there's a 14% increase in win rate and an 11% decrease in deal cycle duration. So why aren't they doing this? We'll get to that soon. The third part of this formula is hitting the contacts with the right content. Now, automation based on deep understanding of sales conversations boosts relevance with buyers, but most reps don't do this, and we'll cover why in just a moment. All these things, hitting the right people at the right time with the right message, help remove risk in selling and can be measured in time and effectiveness of your deal cycles. Let's talk about one of the oldest plays in the book, cold outreach. For a long time, sellers have been sending the same automated emails to different prospects. This just doesn't work anymore, and we all know this. The cold outreach approach has resulted in low conversion rates, lost opportunities, and deals taking too long to close. Buyers are telling us that they respond to only 1 in 20 cold emails that they receive. This is from a recent Gong seller engagement survey that we ran just 3 months ago in March, covering hundreds of sellers and hundreds of buyers, and I'll share more of the results in the upcoming slides. Sending poor quality outreach at scale is now the norm. Sales professionals often spray and pray their calls and emails, relying on volume to land meetings. But respondents to our survey report that personalization has the highest impact on their response rate. Sellers are more successful when they create a personalized cadence for each prospect. But there's the rub. You can see on the screen that our survey shows that the average rep is spending 12 hours of their week customizing emails, customizing templates that their company provided, and yet only 1 in 20 of those emails is opened by the sellers. Now, here's some interesting finding from Gong Labs. We analyzed more than 30,000 emails, and our data determined how reps typically customize their outreach. These 4 techniques had a large impact on reply rates. I'm going to dive into each of them to make sure you understand them and can guide your team on when to use which one for the best results. The data shows that these different flavors of personalization resonate with different personas and should be used in different ways. The first one is individual-based. This means personalizing an email based on a single contact. It can include addressing their past experience, personal life, hobbies, interests, etc. I'm sure many of you are already guiding your team to use this, but are they using it in the right situation? You'll have to wait for the next slide to find out. The second type we're going to cover is company-based personalization. This references the contact's organization in your email by mentioning company news updates, new product releases, milestones, earning reports, etc. This is a little bit easier to do because you can use the same company personalization across all contacts that you're trying to reach within that organization. The third type of personalization that we've seen very commonly is industry-based. This is an email personalized referencing how you've helped similar companies. It can include a social proof or leveraging customer case studies, etc. And the fourth and final common type, we've seen many, but these are the top four, is activity-based. This uses intent or marketing data to personalize an email. It references web activity, content consumption, event attendance, conversations with other stakeholders at the organization, etc. So for any marketers out there, this is what we typically call behavior-based. For everyone else, it's simply activity-based on something that your contact or target contact has recently done, usually in your digital space. So when and how do these actually perform best? It turns out that the individual-based personalization is by far the most time-consuming to prepare because you need to do the research on that specific contact, and it requires one-to-one personalization based on a certain individual. Our data shows it's way more impactful with lower-level personas than it is with executives. Just look at these numbers. You can expect to triple or more your response rate with lower level executives, but it hardly adds 1.5x response rates for higher C-level executives. So keep that in mind. It's still effective across the board, but it's far more effective for lower level personas. We define lower level personas as manager and individual contributors. Now, in contrast that with the opposite effect that we saw for company-based personalization. This clearly resonated better with the executive audience. In fact, it tripled the response rate of the executive audience without having any meaningful effect on lower level individuals like individual contributors and manager levels. If we think about it, it makes a lot of sense. These leaders, the executive leaders, are the ones in charge of delivering on the big bets and major initiatives, product announcement, et cetera, for the business. They own the top and the bottom lines, so they would care more about how you connect their company challenges as reflected in the latest earnings report or in a public statement that the company made to your solution and how you can help them with their biggest company problems. They're far less impressed if you know that they went skiing last week. So keep that in mind as you guide your team on different types of personalization. Now, we talked about how time-consuming personalization can be for sellers. This next approach is arguably more scalable as we can create lists of accounts or leads that share similar firmographic information and leverage the same case studies or social proof to showcase why our offerings can deliver the same results for organizations that operate in the same space. You can see here that this is quite effective both with individual contributors and the C-level suite, depending on the actual social proof or case study that you share. So this is almost equally effective across the board. And this last one is really interesting. This is the activity-based personalization because it probably represents the largest gaps for most organizations today. By gap, I mean your team is not using this nearly as much as they should be. Turns out that personalizing based on recent activities like attending your recent event is equally effective across all seniority levels and can dramatically increase meetings booked. We found that it tripled the response rates, all other things being equal, compared to not using this type of personalization at all. So whenever you have any sort of activity-based personalization opportunity, someone attended an event, downloaded a white paper, attended a webinar like you're on today, please have your team use that and mention it as early as the subject line because it really does increase the response rate that you get. And after all of these efforts of personalization, turns out that 90% of buyers feel emails are not personalized at all. So how well is your rep's time being spent? And are the tools that they have the right ones to get the job done? Let's explore. If the current way isn't working, where do we search for new solutions? A lot of your sellers who've been spending time customizing emails without getting the results they're looking for have probably wondered, is this a problem that ChatGPT can fix for me, right? I've read on the internet that this is going to solve all my problems. Well, turns out generative AI will change sales, but not in the way that it appears on our Instagram or Twitter feed. We at Gong do believe that generative AI will play an important role in helping revenue teams increase productivity and focus more on high-value work. As promising of a technology as generative AI is, its potential pitfalls are such that the many tools currently in use won't serve certain use cases, whether due to quality, ethics issues, integration challenges, or data privacy concerns. If you're looking to create and accelerate pipeline, you need to consider how generative AI can help rather than hinder that process. But you also can't afford to be left behind. Our latest survey from last month shows that there's a lot of appetite for AI. Here are some real data from England. It turns out that 82% of British businesses are keen to embrace more AI technology, while 40% believe AI will be imperative to the future of business, and 28% are already using it to boost sales. If you're not part of those 28%, you will soon be at a competitive disadvantage. Can you really afford that? If not, you really want to start looking into these AI tools, and I will give you 3 final tips in just a moment for how to go about that. When looking at it as a tool for boosting sales engagement, which can autonomously draft follow-ups and generate summaries of sales interactions, we need to evaluate 3 things in any AI tool you're considering implementing. 1, the level of understanding. A generative AI solution that is fed with high-quality data generates high-quality insights. Is the tool that you're looking at a generic tool like ChatGPT? Well, that was trained on Shakespeare plays and Super Bowl commercials, but there are purpose-built AI tools for sales that were actually trained on billions of sales calls, and we'll get to that in a moment. The second thing to consider is accuracy. Consider a domain-specific solution trained on sales conversations rather than one trained on the entire internet. And 3 is data protection and privacy. Keep an eye out for solutions that keep PII private and compliant without exposing it needlessly. In fact, using AI, we found a way to reduce by 90% the amount of time it takes sales leaders to understand the context of an account, so when they go into upsell, prevent churn, or otherwise work directly with a customer, they don't need to rely on subjective reports from the team, but instead can review a summary based on generative AI and get the full context of an interaction. Can your sales platform do that? As you go forward navigating these challenging times, I want to suggest 3 closing thoughts to help de-risk your pipeline and keep your reps and board members happy. Number 1, the right tools are critical to the success of your sales team, which are critical to your entire organizational success. To ensure you have the right tools amidst budget scrutiny, consider consolidating on a single platform that does it all. Find a platform that acts as a single place for your entire revenue team to prospect, coach, manage pipeline deals, and forecast your quarter end. 2, the data shows that your team isn't personalizing their emails based on the latest research findings. And I hope you take some of the tips that I shared earlier from real-world findings on personalization. You can also find them on Gong's blog at gong.io/blog. That's gong.io/blog. Relying on volume to land meetings is no longer effective. At the same time, manual personalization efforts are incredibly time-consuming, but a generative AI tool that allows you to deliver the right content to the right people at the right time can make all the difference. Remember that stat I showed you, that most of your team is not responding within 24 hours. And finally, generative AI will make a big difference for sales organizations, but sales team can't just implement a one-size-fits-all approach. Rather, they should look for a solution that delivers understanding, accuracy, and domain expertise. A solution that is trained on sales conversations and understand those sales conversations is the most appropriate solution for sales functions. And if you're looking for one of those, you need go no further than gong.io. We've got your back there. This year, instead of trying to do more with less, which I haven't figured out how to do, maybe we can all commit to focusing on the vital few things we really need to do and commit to doing them better. Thank you for your time, everyone, and happy selling.